Welcome to our first live stream worship service of Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Would you take a deep breath with me? And again, I'm Reverend Alan Taylor, and I am grateful that you are joining Reverend Emily Gage and me for worship. It is good to be together. I am also grateful to Dan Crimmins, Jim Parks, and Corey Anderson, who are producing this live stream. Following this shortened service, you are invited to join our wider community for a virtual coffee hour. Instructions are in the comment section.
If you have a chalice at home, we invite you to light it as we light ours here in the sanctuary. You can improvise, any candle will do. Let's say these words together. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other.
Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey, Reverend Emily and I welcome you. It is so good to have you here with us as part of our community that is committed to foster hope and courage among us and within us. May we open our hearts, our minds, our souls, as we gather for worship on this glorious day.
I'll sing our first hymn. Join me if you would like, but Peter and I are glad to be here with you. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
Let us join together in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Hello, my Unity Temple friends. I am missing you here today, and I have been thinking of you and sending you lots of love. It's going to be a while until we can be together in person. Lots of ways that yes. Hello, my Unity Temple friends. I am missing you here today, and I've been thinking of you, and I'm sending you lots of love. It's going to be a while until we can be together again in person, and so we're going to think of lots of ways that we can be together using our computers and our phones, and I'm going to record some videos of stories for all ages. I already recorded one that I'm going to upload, and we'll let you know how to find them. We'll be able to have meetings that way, too. I've been having lots of big feelings these days, and I'll bet you have too. Whatever those feelings are, that is okay. One of the best things to do is to talk about them with somebody that you love. We're all going to be spending a lot of time with our families and the people in our homes, because right now the best way to help each other and our community is to practice social or physical distancing. And that really means not spending time with people outside our homes as much as possible. You can go outside, of course, but not to play with other people. We're here together today, and we're making sure to maintain distance from each other. It's kind of weird that the best thing that we can do to help the world and its people feels kind of like doing nothing, staying away and inside and being away from other people. It probably feels like a lot is changing right now. Things are going to feel different since there are lots of ways that we're going to have to create new routines and learn new ways of doing things. And even in all that change, I want you to know that some things are not changing. It's still important, probably especially important, to be kind and helpful, to take care of each other. And the people of Unity Temple, Unitarian Universalist Congregation are still here, and we are still surrounding with you with love. That love is never going to change.
We hold the time of holding each other in our hearts and the prayers of the people. I so appreciate your responses to Friday's letter about whether there is anyone you are holding in your heart. At this time, I invite you to bring to mind the people you are holding in your heart. Beth Dowell writes, "My mom, Vera Dowell, is in the hospital with an abdominal infection. We hope she recovers quickly and is able to go home soon." Corey Anderson writes, "I am holding in my heart my sister, Jay Heslep, who is 79 and living in a senior residence. Her vulnerability is on her mind and mine." Kathy Clark writes, I am thinking of our dear Alice O'Cray, who is having a wonderful time in Cuba. I am hoping for safe travel as she flies home Tuesday. Likewise, my childhood friend, Bo, is in Cancun, traveling back later this week. Magane Koshimura writes, I am holding in my heart this week my social mother, Dorothy Riemann, in California, as she is rapidly declining due to her stage 4 ovarian cancer. Val Igarashi writes, I am praying to find the money for my rent and medical bills. I am also praying for my friend Valerie in Los Angeles. Amanda Coletta Cott writes, please keep the Cott family in your thoughts. My mother-in-law, Rosalie Cott, died unexpectedly on March 1st, where she was recovering in the hospital from a heart procedure. She is deeply missed. Ed White writes, let us remember with sorrow and gratitude the sacrifice by United States service people whose lives were lost in Iraq this past week. Specialist Juan Miguel Mendez, age 27, Staff Sergeant Marshall D. Roberts, age 28, Gunnery Sergeant Diego D. Pongo, age 34, and Captain Moises A. Navas, age 34. Remember their families and also the families of all service members lost in the Middle East. And may we also be aware of all those civilians killed and injured around the world. Amy Dubril writes, locally the following people were reportedly killed between March 7th and March 14th. D'Angelo Lopez, age 19, Damian Rogers, 17, Cesar Salamanca, 40, Mary Watkins, 37. May we keep their families and others touched by violence in our prayers. May we also pray for the perpetrators and the impact the violence has on their lives as well. Dan Canton writes, I pray for the many people who don't have a choice about going to work if they want food on the table. I pray for all the first responders, both on the street and in the hospital. Let's hold in our hearts and care for the healthcare workers who will bear the brunt of this pandemic. And Michael Blake writes, I am praying for the seriously ill people in China and in Italy and the doctors who must decide whom to treat because there aren't enough beds or respirators. I pray that this horrific dilemma never reaches this continent.
Let us unite our hearts and minds in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, there is so much in our hearts and on our minds these days. Help us to remember and keep on remembering to breathe deeply. Help us to remember to wash our precious hands over and over. Help us to remember that we have strength like a mountain to do what needs to be done. Help us to remember that there is joy like a fountain both in us and around us. Help us to feel that we are surrounded by love like an ocean. Amen. Blessed be.
Our reading today is a poem written 4 days ago by our Unitarian Universalist colleague, the Reverend Lynn Unger. Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has become clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Reverend Lynn Unger currently serves the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the largest Unitarian Universalist congregation that's for Unitarian Universalists who don't have a congregation near them or don't resonate with the one that's near them. It's a congregation where members are connected to one another only online. Their leadership now is offering resources to all of us congregations that are now like them, accessing their congregations, our congregations, virtually. There are times when the world gets much smaller and we human beings suddenly realize just how interconnected we are. Such times are opportunities to really pull together for the sake of our common humanity. The past few days have been one of those times. Over the last few days, it has become clear we are facing an unfolding global pandemic. It's not clear how many lives will be claimed, but we all are implicated. Our own choices shall determine how much we shall collectively, to use a new popular phrase, flatten the curve. It's a scary time. Anxiety and fear lodges within many of us as one country after another closes their borders and orders their people to stay home. Here in the United States, it is clear that for the common good, we should stay home if we can. Of course, there are medical professionals, grocery store staff, firefighters, and many others who we as a society rely on to continue working. And what about the many people who must work to support themselves and their families? Questions abound that lead to anguish and despair. The social distancing that we have been instructed to engage threatens to lead to social isolation. In this time, I invite you to pay attention to your breathing, to deepen your breathing. For breathing as deeply is the fastest way to calm down. It calms us down and helps us think in a clearer way. I love how Lynn puts it. Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Breathe. Another Unitarian Universalist colleague, Reverend Leslie Takahashi, says, "Listen, a wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and in that dialogue lies peace." Take a deep breath and listen. A wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and in that dialogue lies peace. Wisdom tells us we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. Our lives are in one another's hands. But don't reach out your hands, reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. One thing I urge you to do this week is pick up the phone, call people, especially people you think might be alone. Have video chats, make use of technology, and open up. Laugh, be vulnerable, find connection, find peace. I'm already discovering how simple phone conversations lighten me up amid the heaviness of these days. This is a time to simply reach out to people we care about, but typically don't have time to do so. This month, we are exploring the theme of wisdom. However, we are facing a huge challenge. In a time of fear and anxiety, wisdom often takes flight. Pandemics lead to panic and pandemonium. These words all begin with Pan, the Greek god who relished causing uproar and disorder, as well as wild, lawless confusion. A colleague in the Seattle area recently visited her neighborhood grocery store only to find extra long lines, parents in tears over empty shelves, and a shopper with a shotgun who was protecting his limited supplies. Our economy may be turned upside down. How shall we respond? What wisdom do we need? We ask these questions just as we must ask, what does it mean to be a congregation when we cannot gather physically together? I always have thought of the congregation as the gathered community here at Unity Temple. But here we are, right now, gathered in community. We don't have to be in the same building to be connected to one another. And we're going to develop ways to be together. We're going to find ways to support the most vulnerable among us. We will make sure our elders have several weeks of medications and supplies. If and when one of you contracts the coronavirus, I trust we will find ways to support you. For that is what it means to be a congregation. We will care for you, and we will call on you to care for others. Yes, we will care for you and call upon you to care for others. In a few minutes, many of us will gather for a virtual coffee hour. And I ask you, if you're joining us, to be patient with one another, be patient with yourselves, and in this time, be patient with the reality we face. We have entered an unprecedented time in our lifetimes. It's been just over a century since a global pandemic caused much of society to shut down. We can get through this time together. Our society and culture are changing quickly, perhaps more quickly than ever in history. And one of our core tasks is to adapt while paying attention to what brings us joy. want to close with something that brought me joy. Last week, when we did away with handshakes, it was fun seeing the fist bumps, the elbow bumps, the Vulcan salutes. And I was surprised by the namaste greeting, to share a slight bow with another with our hands at our hearts, and saying either namaste or the divine with me honors the divine in you. It was like, wow. A few days ago, a friend shared with me a slightly different translation of Namaste by Ram Dass. I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we are one. In other words, this greeting recognizes and honors the sacredness and interconnection of all. We are connected. During these weeks that we practice social distancing, explore the theme of wisdom. Listen. Reach out with your heart. Pick up the phone. Open up. Laugh. Be vulnerable. Pay attention to joy. Be generous. Find peace. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Namaste. Blessed be. Amen. Each week, may we cultivate peace within our hearts and within the wider world. Each week, we give our Sunday collection to an organization that aligns with our principles and values. This week, we give to Planned Parenthood, the largest provider of comprehensive reproductive health care services in the Chicago area. Planned Parenthood supports each individual's right to make informed, independent decisions about health and family planning. You can send a check to UTUUC at the address in the comments section, but you are welcome to donate directly to Planned Parenthood on their website or send them a check. May what you give bring you joy.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. 'Cause everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. 'cause I'm building up a world, 'cause I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, and I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, and I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
May we all turn to the source of our love, and may we be blessed as we develop new ways of being together. I invite you all into the virtual coffee hour. The instructions are being added again to the comments section. And may you go in love, paying attention to joy, reaching out your heart, and finding peace. Blessed be. Amen.